Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is life as teacher. So we always, we talk a lot about life's lessons, but the question is, how do we receive them? They don't always appear in a format that we welcome, let alone digest. So let's take a look at that. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Rub your palms vigorously together. Feel that sensation, that texture, the friction, temperature, the buzzing, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Gia. So good to have you here with us this morning. Welcome. And welcome to everybody else who's joining us. Today, the conversation is about life as teacher. So I had a really good conversation session with a client last night that inspired today's conversation. Welcome, welcome, Jenny. Wonderful to have you here with us this morning. So we're talking about life as teacher. And so this person was experiencing a lot of frustration and anger and just feeling overwhelmed and exhausted and resigned because of circumstance after circumstance challenging them in life. And saying, I'm just trying to do what I came here to do, and everything is in my way. And, I know I'm meant to be this teacher, and I just want to get to the good stuff. I just want to get on with doing what I need to do. And meantime, they were overwhelmed by aggravation, agitation, all these really powerful emotions. And so it's interesting because this has been a conversation we've been engaged with for several weeks at least, where there's this pushing against the river. And I think finally we were able to make inroads last night to have understanding about this. So what I called upon this person to do was to come to the session with an awareness. Get to the good part, Jenny says, sung by ARJ. I don't know who that is, but yeah, get to the good part. Well, the thing is, it's all the good part. It's just that we don't necessarily recognize it, right? Good morning, Rosalind. So good to have you here with us this morning. Welcome. We're talking about life as teacher. So anyway, this person was experiencing okay, AJR, good band. Thank you, Jenny. Cool. So this person was experiencing all kinds of aggravation and frustration and overwhelming, and lots of powerful, not pleasant emotions. And what we were talking about is Oh, that's wonderful, Gia. Gia says, I love to hear your experiences with your clients because it helps me too. So good, good, good. So anyway, here's the deal. What I said is, look, you experience your destiny, or you believe your destiny is to be a teacher and to be a leader. And in order to do that, there's a certain level of mastery that is required. And what that mastery starts with, at least, it's not about having all the answers. It's not about being smarter than anybody else. It's about dancing with life. And so Jenny says, sounds like he needs to be a student first. Well, we all get to be students. So the question is, how do we be a good student of life? And that's what we're looking at right now. So there were all these circumstances that were coming up and bringing up tremendous frustration. And so my hypothesis, my working hypothesis is that life brings up stuff that is ready to heal. And this person had had really, really deep trauma with their mother, and had experiences of being manipulated and disregarded and disempowered, and really ugly, painful experiences. And so we looked at what was going on with this frustration. And interestingly enough, not by coincidence, in my opinion, the emotions that were arising were parallel to these deep emotions that this person had experienced growing up during their childhood. And Jenny says, I once heard, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Yes, exactly. I think that's true. And the teacher may be life. So that's what I'm saying, is that the things that arise in life are the things that are ready to heal, or ready for us to learn. So what we discovered in a hello, Ruki, welcome. So good to have you here with us. Now we're talking about life as teacher. So here were all these emotions that were really, really difficult. And the question was, this person was just sort of fighting against these emotions and fighting against life. And so I said, okay, let's just look at this. We're talking about mastery. So what we get, hello and good morning, Dido. How wonderful to have you here with us this morning. Wow, we're really having a party this morning. So life as teacher. So there were all these difficult things that were showing up. And I said, okay, if we believe, and we're going to try this on as a working hypothesis, if we believe that life is happening for us and through us rather than to us, then in every situation, there's a gift. And this person says, sounds to me like you're trying to make me celebrate my misery with rainbows and unicorn farts. That's literally what they said. This is a very engaging, entertaining client. And I said, yeah, I get how you might perceive it that way. And what's happening is life is presenting you with a circumstance that is bringing up all these emotions that have not been healed. And if we look at the dynamic here, what's going on? You feel powerless. You feel like something happened that you had nothing to do with. It had nothing to do with you, and it wasn't something you created, and yet you're bearing the consequences of it. And the person that did this thing completely disregarded you and disregarded your feelings. And does this feel familiar? And you could hear a pin drop, because yes, it felt profoundly familiar. And in fact, it was directly reminiscent of the experience that they experienced growing up. So what happened was that life presented them, and I was able to mirror it back to them. Life presented them with an opportunity to address something that was still an open wound. And then we were able to do session work to address that issue. And so the point is, Jenny says, shit doesn't change that way. I'm not sure which way, but here we go. Oh, it repeats. Exactly. If we don't heal it, it repeats until we have the opportunity to really take care of it, right? So what we were talking about is life will teach us and will give us learning opportunities over and over. And what we want to do is to move into this place of mastery, which doesn't mean we don't get upset, but it does mean that we are able to mine our experience in such a way that we can find empowerment to move from victimhood and reactivity into self-empowerment and mastery. And so this person said to me, so you're telling me if this kind of situation had happened to you, you wouldn't be all bent out of shape and upset about it. And that gave me an occasion to share a situation that had happened for me that I alluded to here a little while ago, that I felt very, very disrupted by. Jenny says, kind of like my car stolen twice in 7 months. Yeah, Jenny, I don't know what's underlying that, because I know that there's some people who have never had a car stolen ever. So there's something going on. There's something worth looking at. And looking at what are the feelings that it engendered, or what kind of, what is it a metaphor for in the past, perhaps? You know, what is bringing up, what's bringing up or what's being brought up for you to be able to recognize. And sometimes it takes some digging because we're so involved in the emotion of it, right? So like when all this stuff showed up for me, I recognized, wow, there's a place in me that doesn't feel safe. There's a place in me that really has an issue with the abuse of power. There's that still isn't healed. That was a big theme of my life for years and most of my life. And for the most part, it was healed, but there's still, you know, the part of me that just hadn't healed, feeling powerless in certain circumstances in my life. And in being willing to plumb those depths, even though it's not easy, you know, even though it can be really confronting, being willing to look at that and do the work to heal that, and the anger and the resentment and the frustration and the feeling of powerlessness, to be able to emerge into a place of utilizing that opportunity to create forward motion, to create a new resolve, to empower me to move it more into the life that I desire. That's mastery. You know, there's a level of mastery. Mastery is not an endpoint, by the way. It is an ongoing process. Life um, is not a place to get to. It is the process, and so it's all the good stuff, even though it looks not so good a lot of times. So Jenny says, I believe it has something to do with my daughter's estrangement and so deep unhealed wounds. And so feeling like your daughter has been stolen from you in some way or has stolen something from you. And metaphorically in dreams, cars represent self. So, you know, feeling like maybe your heart was stolen, you know, or your sense of self was stolen. And Jenny's saying, I'm learning growth is painful. And so, Jenny, what I have to say is growth is painful until it's not. You know, until we get the lessons and release it, then growth becomes less painful. You know, it's when we're fighting against it that it's painful or that it becomes suffering. So we can experience pain without experiencing suffering. The suffering is the prolonging of the pain. Jenny says, yes, that's right. So your car represents self. And so the thing is that the estrangement from your daughter is like you have in some way perhaps identified yourself so deeply with that relationship that you've lost yourself, that you might experience that it's been stolen from you. And Jenny says it blooms or it suffers. Yeah, I mean, we lessons can be painful, but it doesn't mean they're not valuable, right? And the sooner we're able to farm the value, to mine the value from that opportunity, the less prolonged the pain will be. This person has been in pain for an extended, well, a pattern of pain throughout their lives. And the anger and frustration was the only way that they had to assert themselves in the past. And it was really interesting because in the context of the session, they said that their experience was, you know, I was like, okay, well, what's that feeling? And they said it's just absolute fiery rage. And what happened is that it was like magma, like lava filling their body. And at one point, what they ended up doing is breathing fire, because they were locked so that they couldn't speak, so that they couldn't release this. And then eventually they were able to breathe fire, and all of this magma, this lava, this molten hot, seething rage was released. And then there was a sense of presence and empowerment. And Gia says, well said, we can experience pain without suffering. Suffering and pain are not the same. That's correct. They're not. They're not. Suffering exists as a result of the stories we make about the pain, or the ways that we prolong the pain, or the ways that we keep revisiting the pain. And Jenny says, me too. And Jenny says, completely makes sense to me. I'm a fire-breathing dragon. So the thing is that what this person experienced is that magma, that lava, that seething rage inside was consuming them. You know, it wasn't hurting anybody outside, although, you know, the people that they interacted with certainly bore the brunt of their frustration and anger and and attitude, but ultimately it was really hurting them more than anything. And so as they were breathing fire, as they were allowing themselves to breathe this fire, not at people, but just to breathe this fire, the fire dissipated and released. And so it wasn't about denying the emotion. It was recognizing it. And, you know, at one point they felt like they had a padlock on their mouth, and this padlock was super glued and encrusted with corrosion, and it wasn't going anywhere. And eventually, as they were able to be releasing this fire, the padlock also went away. And so to circle back around to the notion of life being teacher, you know, at some point we were talking about, well, what's the lesson? You know, sometimes we're too much in the thick of the emotion to be starting to think about the lesson. And, you know, if you start talking to somebody too early about the lesson, they're like not particularly welcoming to that idea, you know, and at the nicest might be talking about rainbows and unicorn farts, right? That everything was trying to make everything rosy when it feels like a tragedy. Rosalind says the pain dissolves, resistance melts to a puddle. It loses its hold when we don't give it focus and attention, different from bypassing. How to discern when we're repeating a pattern. Well, I think a couple things. In this case, we actually gave the pain attention rather than denying the pain. What was happening was originally they were being in the pain, like they were resisting the pain. They were wanting it to be different. They had all these ideas about how life should be, and I've done everything I should be doing, and this is ridiculous. That shouldn't have happened, and I wouldn't have to be doing all of this if that hadn't happened, and it wasn't anything I did, and you know, now I'm paying the price and it's disrupting my whole life. And I mean, like this was a big thing. And every time this person had to take an action to resolve this situation that had been beyond their doing consciously in any way, they just had more and more rage and resentment. Why? Because they felt like they were trapped in something that they didn't have anything that they were at the effect of, which is the pattern that they experienced over and over and over in their lives. And Jenny says, I'm working on things and becoming more conscious about it by just accepting. Yeah, so that's a big deal, is to be able to accept what's going on. Like this is what is. Now, is your aggravation and resistance and anger and frustration and resentment, is it worth the toll it's taking on you? You know, that's where we're talking about mastery. So to your question, Rosalind, how to discern when we're repeating a pattern is when we're triggered. I mean, some patterns might be okay, but when we're triggered, that's a really good sign that there's some kind of pattern going on, some kind of something that is an experience to which we're deeply sensitized and reactive about. And it's a pattern. The likelihood is that there's a pattern there. There's a wound. And a wound doesn't typically come from a one-time deal. It can, but most often wounds are from repeated pattern, abuse, or well, just some sort of patterned experience. So what we're looking for, I mean, what the dance of life looks like when we're not stepping on toes is allowing for these experiences when we get triggered to be learning opportunities. It's like, wow, okay, I got really triggered. What's going on there? Instead of staying in the trigger, which is sometimes really challenging, to step back and say, okay, so what's going on here? What's going on? What am I feeling? What did that stir in me? And how is this, you know, what can I do to address this? Right? How can I look at this? What can I see here? Like me discovering, oh, wow, there's part of me that doesn't feel safe. When I was growing up, my primary emotion was fear. And so what I recognized is there was still some of that hanging around that I got to work on. So Jenny says, taking me nowhere but unhealthy all through my life. So that's an opportunity. Now, recognizing that, you have an opportunity to be looking at new ways of being. Not easy. Nobody said it's easy. It may be simple, but it's not necessarily easy. It's confronting. Rosalind says, I don't like walking on grass because fear of stepping on poop. When I wasn't looking, I stepped in it. My memory wants to keep going there. So at farmer's market, I stay on the sidewalk or just look at the ground when I'm on the grass. Not a bad idea to look at the ground when you're on the grass. And there are worse things than having to wash poop off your feet. Not a fun thing to have it squished through your toes. I know, I've been there, but it's not the worst, terrible thing in the world. So Jenny says, yes, with my daughter cracked me open in my past. Yes, so our traumas get resurfaced by traumas. And so I imagine that there's old stuff, Jenny, that the whole thing with your daughter triggered as well, you know, that it was a pattern of some sort that may have been well beyond your control. And it's painful. No denying that. No denying that. But there is a level of mastery and interaction and dancing with life and life's gifts, even though they come in packages that we don't like a lot of times. We're being presented with opportunities to move into a place of wholeness and to move into a place of greater balance. And that's really what it's about. And it takes a deep, profound commitment to get past ourselves, to find those lessons. Jenny, thank you so much. You're very kind. It takes a lot. Nobody said, you know, transformation is not for sissies. I promise you. So, and I think you all know that. Anyway, I got to run. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. I go live each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, right here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network. And Jenny says, I find healing in drum circles and journaling. That awesome things. And Gia says, when we're triggered, all that our mind does is run away, if not physically, but mentally, to escape. Mentally is something known pathway, but to let the experience itself through our bodies, being present to our sensations and thoughts, we may call it mindfulness, and then things change. It's true, it's true, it's true. I have to run. Love, 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 love to you, and so much appreciation. Looking forward to being here with you again really, really, really soon.